Welcome to the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel after show. We have a lot to break down. Midge is real life, no filter. Susie is homeless. And Rose is exploring some nudity and feminism, perhaps. Stay tuned because there's a lot to break down.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Some nice music to get us in the setting of this marvelous show with another Golden Globe under its belt for the beautiful Rachel Brosnahan. You guys, welcome. We're talking The Punishment Room. Such a great title for this episode. I'm Steph Sabraw, and I'm joined by the two most marvelous hosts in the world.
Hey everyone, I'm Briana Phipps.
And I am Jeff Graham.
Jeff has a great word for you guys today.
I do. I was saying, most of the time in TV and movies, guys get lucky. Well, I wouldn't say get lucky, but guys get all the... You can tell it's a male-driven industry because
get
most
the tits.
Yeah, exactly. Bree said it first. Tits up. It's in the show. There's a lot of, boobs on television.
Yes.
But in this episode, you ladies got some hot peen.
Some hot peen indeed. I've been waiting for him to say that.
I will say, though, I don't think, from my understanding of, and I don't want to over-normalize gender here, but I think sometimes boobs in a television show mean more to men than hot peen in a television show would to a woman.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
disagree with that at all.
Totally, because even when it was in the background, I was like, I don't know if
I was like, whoop, yep, that's a penis.
Like, if you guys could choose to see a nice sculpted bum versus a hot peen, you'd
100%.
probably pick the bum, right?
Totally.
100%.
Great. Jeff is so in tune with our
know.
emotions. Anyways, you guys, we have a lot to break down. We're going to be going over what basically is the punishment room, the wedding that ended in basic catastrophe. B. Altman and kind of where Midge is in her career right now. Susie and the gigs and her state of homelessness. And Rose and Abe and a little bit of Joel because him and his family
Some
have
treasure maps.
Yeah,
Oh,
some
yes.
treasure maps.
Yes.
Then we have our special segment where we focus on a female comedian, and today we have Sarah Silverman.
Yes.
And our special segment, or our news and gossip, will be
Coming up some later in the show.
What-
Got some juicy news for you.
yeah, of course. So let's get into it. What was your overall thoughts of episode 3?
This one felt more filler than the first two for sure. I mean, obviously in any season you're going to have some filler episode to kind of keep the story going, but we're not jumping too far ahead yet. It made me really want to watch episode 4. I withheld it. I made sure I did not. Because I was just like, I didn't get too much in this one, so I want to go on to the next one. I'm really excited to see what they're doing next. But I did like what we got with Joel and his family. That was fun for me with his mom. His mom and dad in the bank was probably one of my favorite scenes. And I really liked the dynamic we got with Rose and Abe too this episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think this episode was good. Maybe not great, which is okay because you can't have a full season of knock 'em out of the park episodes. I mean, there's still all the stuff we love about this show. The thing is, even the filler episodes are going to be so well shot and edited and good looking that you can enjoy just kind of even the visual splendor of the show. I thought it was good. I think I'm wondering how they'll pay these off. I had a little bit of character issues with how Midge was so thoughtless at that wedding. It's like she's always been one to speak her mind and push the envelope with her humor, but I think she has a little more social awareness than she displayed, at least I thought. So I felt like we were jumping the shark a little bit character-wise here, but I still thought it was a good episode, and, a good episode of Mrs. Maisel is an amazing episode of any other episode of television. So
I agree with a lot of what you said there, and I do think that you're absolutely right. No matter what, we're gonna get beautiful shots, such incredible writing, and I will say that I consistently love in this season that we're focusing more on Abe and Rose because there's just and Joel's parents as well are both. They just steal scenes when they're in it.
It's interesting. One thing I think I'm noticing with this show is if this were a 23 episode season, you could have these standalone episodes and they feel a little more like they fit because there's so many. But when it's only 10 episodes, if you have kind of a little subplot that doesn't get revisited, it can feel a little weird as a viewer to me. And I know Amy Sherman-Palladino is used to writing network, so this almost felt like an episode of television that could exist in a larger season, but with only 10 episodes, the pacing felt a little weird to me.
That's
personally.
a good distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt myself thinking, are we gonna pick up part of these pieces later, or
Right.
it just seemed a little bit, some scenes were out of place to me. I always love a B. Altman scene though, when
Yeah.
we open up with Midge and she gets taken down to the makeup aisle or floor, but she ends up being a coat checker. That was really funny to me, and she is at her best when that's what confused me, is that I feel like then we saw the marvelous Midge, where she
Yeah.
can talk to anyone and do literally anything. Did you guys like this scene?
I mean, I liked it. It was frustrating because it's like, I just know she's so much better than all those girls at giving makeup advice. I want her to be back on the floor, and I still don't agree with her not being able to be on the floor because Penny decided to come in and yell at her for sleeping with her own husband. So I'm still frustrated by the scenario of them not letting her be on the floor, and even now she has to be in the little coat check. But I do think that there is a difference. Like, obviously we'll get into the wedding scene later, but there is a difference, I think, between when she feels like she's doing stand-up versus when she's at like just normal job or normal day.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with everything you guys said. I have nothing to add.
But I guess it was set up to know that the wedding was happening, and Midge wanted to be involved in that respect. And that leads us to basically the punishment room, where she's convinced her that she wants to be a help to the wedding. And this was a really funny scene, but it was another one where it's like, is it necessary? But I still do think it was funny to have this kind of Jewish Catholic play with each other.
I think it was necessary in the terms of just showing, because we'll play on it later with Rose and Abe too, but just this family's ability to kind of talk people into whatever they want them to do. And
That's a
Midge
good point.
has that, like, obviously when you see Abe and Rose do it later on in the show, Midge also has developed this same ability to just kind of like almost lie, but just they do this thing where they don't stop talking until the person across from them has been convinced that it's their idea.
It's like playful manipulation, maybe is a way to put it. I think I know what you mean here, Steph. I think the reason I was okay with it, with negotiating the new reception room, was because Midge was doing it in favor for the benefit of her friend.
Yes.
The reason it felt so out of character for her in the actual wedding, because it was so cruel to her friend. I think that's my thing, is I believe Midge would do anything if it's helping the people she loves.
I just was sitting here, and I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian, but I'm not Catholic. And I'm like, is this a real thing? Do they have a punishment room? Is this still a thing? Or is this just a thing then? And then she's like, I'm getting married. We're going to have eggs. I'm like, you're having eggs for your wedding meal?
And that it's called Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow.
But that I believe. Like, there are churches with those kind of names that I know of, too. So that's fine with me. But just the fact, like, is there seriously, Catholic people, like, my grandfather's Catholic. I guess I could ask him. But is that a thing?
I sort of feel like it was them. I don't know, I'm not Catholic either, but I feel like it was them sort of playing with the stereotypes of Catholic guilt and sort of like the potentially, I don't want to say propaganda, but the loud messages of shame that priests often promote to encourage their congregations to do the right thing. I think I'm speaking in a way that even Catholics themselves will joke about, so I feel okay saying it. And I think this show's always sort of had fun playing with the cultural specificities around religion. They've been doing it with Judaism for 20 episodes, but I think this is their first time to sort of poke fun at the goys.
Yeah, I know, and they actually said goy in the episode, and I thought of you, because Jeff always makes a joke about how he's...
Our CEO and founder calls me his goy, so I don't know whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but it's a thing.
Okay, so then we get to the wedding where Midge has convinced them to give her the room with the windows, and that's really great, and I think it's going to be just an awesome day.
And the flowers from the funeral.
Yes, and she makes it marvelous in her Midge way, and then she thinks that she's been pointed to talk, but did you guys at first think that they were... The moment I saw her kind of getting up, I was like, no one really asked you to talk yet.
Right. That could be the name of this show, though.
I also just feel like you're not... Yes, you did help out this way, but you're not that close with this girl. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like public speaking as myself either. So I I would never be like, oh, let me willingly get up and talk. But I mean, I guess she's so used to it. But
Real quick, Brie, you know what you're doing right now.
it's different when you're in a room with cameras versus a room full of people.
Yeah, for sure, I'm teasing you.
100%.
Jeff, you just got married, though. Would this ever be appropriate to someone to speak without?
No! No. I mean, I think maybe at the rehearsal dinner, like I think the night before it's a little looser and it's not uncommon that there's like a toast section where anyone can give toasts, but especially in a Goy wedding, maybe it might be different at a Jewish wedding. It might be a little looser and, more a little loosey-goosey was what I was trying to say. But no, this is atypical. That's what we'll say.
Also, like you're a comedian, read the room.
Yeah,
And know when
Exactly.
to just stop when you're like before you get. And she just didn't know when to stop. Nicole Faith in our chat said loved Aaron Dark in this episode, and definitely a foot and mouth speech.
Does Aaron Dark play, what's the name, her friend?
I think
Mary.
Mary, yeah.
I'm pretty
And
sure.
she ends up outing Mary essentially that she's 3 months pregnant, and that's why the wedding was so rushed.
Right.
Is she 3 months pregnant, or is she just?
I thought she said 3 months.
She said they've been dating for 3 months. Like
I think the implication was like,
like they had a one night stand.
Like
and
maybe
had
both?
to-
maybe.
Both
yeah,
are true.
Yeah.
by the way, Nicole, I agree with you. Aaron Dark's performance in this episode is wonderful. Nice to see some work from someone who's not, on screen as much, having a nice feature.
I forget where I have seen her before, but she's definitely an actress I've seen on television before, and I do really everything I've seen her in, she really plays the role well, and she did. The look on her face was unforgettable, and then even when we see them in B. Altman.
she most recently was in Dietland. If you watched that.
Oh, Good Girls
and
Revolt.
Good Girls Revolt.
Good Girls Revolt, that's where it is. Similar role, that's
Similar role,
why.
yeah.
Yes, and she is the quiet one, kind of like the quiet getting out of her shell type. So Good Girls Revolt should not have been canceled either, Amazon Prime.
Do you think though do you think Midge deserves forgiveness from her, or do you think that she needs to stay in the kind of like doghouse for a while in this friendship?
I think a doghouse is appropriate.
Yeah, especially her coming up to her at work right after, like, with your family, especially when you're at a church like that, you should know, like you said, read the room. This is not going to blow over, like, anytime soon at all.
You know what, though? I kind of took it as, like, Midge is still a bit of a green comic. And you'll see this a lot of times with newer comics when, if they're bombing, they just go harder. Because it's like, you have nowhere to go either up or down, and it's like if your jokes aren't landing, you've got to hit harder. So if the comic part of her brain was on, running at 150 miles an hour, she wasn't thinking about anyone's feelings. She was trying to make this bit work and doing anything she could.
I can only relate it to like because my mom will do this all the time, but it's like when you have offended someone in some way you didn't mean to, so you overly apologize.
Yes.
And you and like even though it's like just stop.
Right.
They don't know when to stop. Like my mom does that all the time, so I'm like I feel like it's the same
It is.
kind of feeling.
It's the opposite but the same, kind of,
I completely agree with that. I saw that in her eyes. You could see, she could tell no one was laughing, but then she just dove deeper into it.
Right.
Before we get more into her coming to Susie and basically explaining she has no filter, Jeff has a message about...
Speaking of no filter,
Yeah.
we're a no filter network,
You know
guys.
it.
And we produce after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from reality TV, dramas, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels, because by subscribing to our channel, YouTube will actually suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. Now, guys, I don't like notifications. I don't know how you feel about notifications.
Terribly.
Too many notifications. But on YouTube, you can actually disable the notifications. So what this means, when you subscribe to channels, YouTube will just suggest content that you already love. So I've been subscribing to channels because, guys, I'm going to be honest, I was reading this ad for a while and not taking my own advice. I finally did, and I'm really glad that I did. So for those of you listeners who might be skeptical, trust me, it's worth it. YouTube will just become like your own playground of stuff you love. So hit that subscribe button. It helps us a lot, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And for now, we thank you for being the best fans and for helping us become the ESPN of TV talk.
Also, if you guys have friends out there who are not maybe video watchers, but they love listening to podcasts, we're also a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you can find podcasts,
Stitcher.
pretty much. So tell them to check us out there.
Please do.
Yes. Okay, so I love when they go to diners. All the scenes that they shoot at is always perfect.
Every time they go to a diner, it makes me really want Jewish deli food.
Yes.
And like I was watching this last night at midnight, and I was like, "There's nothing open that I can get to, but I want matzo ball soup right now so badly."
What's your go-to Jewish deli food?
Just like a nice sandwich, like a deli sandwich with if they have fries, then definitely fries.
I do it Reuben is my...
I go to Greenblatt's, which is a really amazing Jewish deli in Hollywood, and I get a cup of matzo ball soup, and then they have like a Reuben-esque thing, but I don't like sauerkraut, but they put coleslaw instead of sauerkraut, and it's amazing.
Oh, that's a really good twist.
Yeah, I'll try the Greenblatt's Reuben with coleslaw. Also, you said Reuben-esque, which is awesome on accident. But I love if you eat too many Reuben-esque Reubens, you'll become Reuben-esque. Thank you. I'll just leave now.
Okay, speaking of leaving,
Guys, ladies and gentlemen.
Steph Sabraw.
that's how you
Look at
pivot.
that transition.
I'm the best at that in the studio. If you guys are wondering, Bree knows I'm the worst.
And every time you say pivot, it's just Ross.
You
in my
know
head.
it's bad.
It's
It's
Ross
the, you
from
know what
Friends
though?
yelling about.
It's
the couch.
also kind of the best because it's Steph.
It's
you know?
I do what Midge does. I
Yes.
just go into something that I shouldn't go into.
Exactly.
Do we feel bad that I feel during the scene that Midge is really spoiled in comparison to Susie. I just feel like she should be helping her out a little bit, and she's losing that empathetic side that I know Midge possesses and not realizing the position Susie is in and her like busting her butt every single day for Midge.
Well, I think that it's easy if someone's not telling you right out. Not that you shouldn't still kind of try to pick up on signs, but it's very easy just to be so much into your own life that you don't necessarily like. I mean, you saw it a little bit when she found out she was sleeping at the gaslight and being like, wait, why? But Susie's also not the person that really wants someone to like. She wants like help in a certain amount of ways, but she doesn't want someone to pity her.
Right. Yeah, this was I just felt like this was a very well written scene with the subtext. You know, it was like Midge being privileged but kind of wanting to help, and Susie kind of wanting help but also very resistant to getting help. And I think this was a great example of I think what the show does really well, which is just letting us know these characters well enough that we can understand their conversation on multiple levels. It was fun.
I think the perfect I was watching this episode with someone last night who had never seen the show, and I went back and showed them a little bit of the first episode of season 2, and their initial thing was like, oh, what a life that you can just pick up and go to Paris on the drop of a dime. I feel like that's Midge's family in a nutshell. It's like they have that kind of privilege and money where they can do these things, and even though it's her family's money and not hers, it's just part of that part where I'm like, just come out to your parents already so you can maybe help your friends out.
That's a great point. I was thinking that she still hasn't come out to her parents, and I do respect.
When you guys say come out, you mean being a comic?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, maybe I did miss an episode.
Susie and Midge's relationship.
three.
Did you miss that?
Yeah.
That's season 3.
Wow, that would be interesting.
I do like Susie's. It's ironic her level of professionalism, though. She doesn't want her to pay for anything because she is the client of Susie. But on the flip side, it's a hard thing because Midge is really perfecting her gigs at the Gaslight, but she's completely stopped because of Harry Drake, who actually comes into the diner, and then they have this exchange, and Midge is really confused, and all Susie says is that's showbiz.
Which makes sense in a nutshell. I feel like I've said that a lot this episode, but it does, because there is that like kind of fakeness of I'm going to be nice to your face in front of public appearances, but we're still not cool.
Totally. I mean, Bree and I on camera, like, we love each other, but once the cameras turn off,
We all hate each other.
it's bad.
He sent like shooters out for her though.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's showbiz.
It's Hollywood. Cupcake.
Yeah,
Or
if you guys
not
don't know,
Hollywood.
behind the scenes
Or-
this happens.
That's New York comedy scene, sister.
We're all threatened on the daily. That's normal.
It's also funny because it takes place in the diner, and the person I was watching this with, because when we were talking about Greenblatt's is right next to the Laugh Factory, and we were like, it's just this time-long tradition of people being comedians and Jewish and then going to a diner.
Amen.
Do we think Susie's really out of danger?
Nah, it's gonna come back.
I feel like at this moment, because Midge isn't big enough, it's fine. But if she starts booking bigger rooms, then I think it'll come back into play.
And I think it'll always be played for comedy. No matter how much danger she's in, it's never, I don't think this show's ever going to tilt into serious territory. Especially, it sometimes gets serious with relationships, like between Joel and Midge, but I don't picture any kind of like real danger that we would be nervous or scared about. I think it'll always be played for comedy. I hope so. Well, I don't know. They could change my mind, but.
I agree with you. I don't think that this will gear towards that way.
Yeah.
And I hope moving forward we do get an episode where they do go to lunch, because he's a great actor. David Paymer, I believe, he plays Harry Drake, and I think they have a funny dynamic because they're both serious, but he's next level. And
I see some folks joining the live chat as well. So if you have any ideas or extra thoughts, please send them our way.
Of course. And then the last scene we get with Susie is that she's going to the record store to sell some things to get money and sees Mrs. X at the gaslight, realizes that's Midge, and she hasn't been getting any profit from that at all. What the heck?
Well, this is my question, though, because it is just someone recorded this, and it was before she repped her. Is she entitled to have that profit?
At least Midge is, though.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. And were copyright laws... what were they at that time? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think like definitely Midge is owed that money.
Give her that money.
Yeah, that coin. I don't know about. Sometimes you say things on air and you think, if there was a rewind button in real life, I would hit it right now. There you go. Our producer,
And there
Steve.
it is.
If only that was all you had to do was play a drop. But yeah, I don't know about Susie being owed that money, but Midge definitely is owed that money.
And do you think that she's going to catch them, the store owners?
I mean, they're going to come back to the store. It's just, there's no legal thing that, she doesn't have any money to have a legal backing to help her. So I just don't know how it'll turn out for her. I also just want to quickly rewind, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
To just
Yeah, didn't you just hear it?
to just talk about her phone bill thing.
Oh, yeah.
That she's in the plan that her long distance is 2 miles.
2 miles.
Within her house.
It's BS. And she's living with, she gave an immigrant
I feel like if
Italian
someone lives
family
within
her
2 miles of me, like at that time I can just walk to them.
It's so true. Well,
And
it's
also-
the olden days.
Also, the Italian family doing TV outside the window was
It's so
gold.
cute.
Yeah.
Just parallel, because she's calling Midge, and Midge is like in this like mansion apartment, and then cut back to Susie with like a family of 6 people living with her, watching TV out of a window. So not even watching TV, just watching someone pretending to be on TV out of a window. It was just a good parallel
That definitely.
look of the different lifestyles that they live.
Susie, I need more Susie still.
Always.
I don't think we're getting enough Susie this season.
Yeah, you're right. We will get more, I think.
I hope. Because I do love the Rose and Abe, which we're about to get to, but Susie also, I think, was snubbed another year at the Golden Globes.
Alex Borstein, she's already an amazing comic actress, and this is her best role. I mean, like, I think, like, if you talk about a specifically suited actor to part, Alex Borstein is just so good for this role.
Completely.
It's great.
Maybe next year. I never lose hope in it. So Rose and Abe, they have fun. I don't know if their plot lines are really developing them as characters or more plot setup, but nonetheless, it was still hilarious. Abe is at math class, and he has like this group of kids who are just obsessed, hanging on to every single word he has to say. What do you guys think about this scene? Do you think it's playing into a bigger thing of who Abe is and his position at the school, or was it more just a funny scene?
I don't think it's like playing into his position as much as funny scene. I think it was like,
I was thinking, am I missing something with these two scenes? I think Rose is a little bit more deep in terms of the idea of feminism and women in school and education in the
but
workplace.
I don't think she was trying to point out that there was feminism. I don't think like in her mind it wasn't profound thought. It was just like, hey, you guys are doing this, but there's none of this, but there's none of this. And she wasn't like pointing out like, there should be women in this and there should be women. She was just like, there's not. Like,
In my opinion, when she was kind of telling the group of girls around her, and they were also listening to every word she had to say, she, I think, was talking out in her head and her maybe first thoughts of feminism.
Yeah.
like kind of figuring out, oh, maybe the system is messed up.
I feel like every girl there was having that thought process, but I just don't think Rose is that deep that she's having that thought process. I think she's just saying it as it is.
I'm between you guys. I think like it's a little bit of what Steph is saying, a little bit of what Bria is saying, to be honest.
And it's interesting because Abe gets taken into who is that guy's position? I think he's the dean, maybe?
He's the dean of the art school.
And he's saying that Rose can no longer take classes because she's convinced all of the female students to either drop because they're not going to get a job or join business school because that's where all the good-looking men are. And this is where Abe was hilarious and what Brie was mentioning, how they kept talking until they got their part of the argument. But I was really impressed with Abe's growth in terms of understanding Rose as a character and kind of like he's raised Midge, who's a very, very strong independent woman. So he must have like a subconscious idea that women are equal.
Right.
I mean, I think that ironically, I think Abe came to the realization of it being like a feminist thing more so than Rose as he was talking it out.
It might be one of those things too where I feel like you'll still meet guys like this where like maybe they don't realize, like they'll look at their own wife or spouse and be like, that person's brilliant, this person deserves opportunities, but not really put together that like also women do.
He also just doesn't want her moving back to Paris.
Right. That's true. But I just feel like he would be the first person to acknowledge that Rose is really smart and deserves opportunities, but maybe would still feel weird about women in general.
Doing that?
It's that thing where it's like, but she's not a woman. She's my wife. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if that makes any sense.
No,
that
that's
does.
a great point. I think that's a large amount of men still today feel that way. And maybe even women who have like privilege and access and then they don't see it as the larger. They're like, oh no, like sexism doesn't exist, but it's just not in your corner specifically.
Exactly. Right.
I did think it was an interesting conversation on just in the past, most works of literature that are anonymous are in fact women writers, and kind of the idea that all these women paying for the degrees are just paying for the school, but not for themselves.
I liked that part a lot because he had nothing to say back to that. It is just they're paying money for this department, but we have no intention of hiring female staff onto it, and we agree with you that there is no really jobs out there in this kind of field for women, but
it's BS.
Yes.
It's BS. But I liked how they pointed it out. This was my favorite scene of the episode because I think it was smart. It had a point. It showed the times. And it was funny between Rose and Abe.
You're right. It was like a classic Maisel scene.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just want to touch a little bit on Joel and his family. So his mom has made this treasure map.
His mom is by far the worst businesswoman ever.
It's been very interesting to see the collapse of Joel's family. Like, I feel like in season 1, it's giving us a lot of context for Joel, though.
I think I identify somewhat with Joel in these situations because not like that my parents are to that extent, but I think it's that thing when you become a certain age and you're almost parenting your parents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of there.
You start to see it. And it's interesting. Joel was like, he totally seemed like this inept, dummy in season 1. And you're like, how could someone with such good, loving parents and smart, thoughtful people raise this kid? And then in season 2, you're kind of like, oh, I see.
Maybe they just didn't really raise him.
Well, and clearly they're just as dysfunctional as he is.
And in the bank, the first word I was saying, that bank scene, I was like, yikes. Like, you guys have no idea what you're doing.
Well, it's just so uncomfortable. Like, his mom on one hand is sitting there trying to not even subtly bribe people. And his dad's just pointing out that everyone's not Jewish.
Yeah. I will say Joel has been fantastic this season. I think he gets better as a character, even though we're not seeing him in the best scenes. I think as a character from last season, he's so much more mature. And I really love the relationship that him and Midge are building because it's not... I don't foresee them and I do not want them ever getting back together, but they have like this camaraderie between the two.
I don't know if I want them back together or not. I feel like at this moment, I feel like I could see a way they could get back together. But
I agree.
I'm not like against it.
I just want her with Lenny Bruce.
She's not going to be with Lenny Bruce.
I think the writers could convince me of anything at this point, you know?
Bree and I have been disagreeing on literally everything in film and TV for the entire week.
It's good. Disagreement's good for a panel.
No, I love the controversy.
Yes.
And then we end where Joel is discovered a room in his father's garment district factory that seems to be his place now. So that's where we leave off with him.
I mean, I'm glad that he'll be not living with his parents, but I also don't know if that's a huge step up.
Right.
He needed to get out of his parents, but maybe
Yeah,
he
but
wants to
still
build
kind of
something
living
new.
with his parents, like
Yeah.
in a way. It's just not as
It's a
direct.
good use of resources, though.
It's true.
It's a non-used space, which really wouldn't
I'm just like,
exist.
he was gonna buy Midge this apartment, so can't he? She didn't want it, so can't he use that money to buy himself an apartment? No,
He should save.
I think he's saving.
Yeah.
It's funny though. You can tell what life stage all of us are in because we're like, that place in the factory looked really nice.
Yeah.
Like I'd take that. Was big.
We're like, I would have to do some remodeling, but definitely.
Oh yeah, it's great. My furniture would fit.
Any more thoughts on this episode?
I mean, I think it set up some good things to come forward that we're gonna get moving forward. So I'm excited to see where we're gonna go. But yeah, I think I said everything I needed.
Yeah, solid episode.
Solid episode. I'm really excited for episode 4. I know Jeff already knows a little bit.
I have. It's been hard for me to bite my tongue because you guys are asking questions that I know some of the answers to.
No,
cheated.
but
I
yes,
cheated.
I'm glad that we're gonna get answers. Let us get into our special segment.
Yes, so every week we do a special segment featuring a famous female comic. This week we're featuring Sarah Silverman, and we have a clip from her most recent special, which is called A Speck of
Is
Dust,
this the Netflix one?
I believe.
The app that I do Twitter with, it's like I can schedule tweets, which I like because sometimes I'll think of 2-3 tweets. I don't want to spoil you. I space them out. Many years ago now, at the beginning of Twitter practically, I scheduled a tweet. I scheduled it for 8:05 p.m. Pacific time. Why would I remember that? Because at 8 p.m. Pacific time, we captured and killed Osama bin Laden. The Twitterverse was aflame. At 8:05, I tweeted, "Why do my dog's duties come out cold?" Let me just remind you, I scheduled that tweet. That's how good I thought it was. And I feel like a little bit like Peter Sellers in being there. Like, people put more depth on me than I have at all. Like, I bet there were people that saw that tweet and were like, you know what? That was cold, but it is our duty.
That's probably good.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I think she's kind of a genius.
Yeah.
I really like Sarah Silverman.
She has such great timing.
Yeah.
I like that my introduction, which is way later to her probably than a lot of people was, but my introduction to her was when she went on Jimmy Kimmel with the I'm
effing Matt
Damon video.
Oh my gosh, that is a little bit late, but yes.
I'm not always on top of pop culture.
Hey, no
I'm gonna
worries.
be free with that.
I do love, though, I think Sarah Silverman's one of the unfortunate few in terms of that a lot of the male comedians have accepted that she's funny.
You're right.
And just men in entertainment, I feel like, have accepted that she's funny.
Yeah.
There should be way more, but at least she can cross boundaries like that.
She's pretty mainstream
Yeah. I
I feel
female
like
comic.
she's kind of like, she gives off the edge of tomboyish enough, like where she's still attractive to men and they can still want to have sex with her, but then they still feel like she is one of the dudes that it's okay if she talks about the gross things.
She's cool girl. you know?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen Gone Girl? Like, my wife's obsessed with that scene where it's like how it's impossible to be the cool girl. Like, you know, I eat wings and drink beer, but I'm a size 2 all the time. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's Sarah Silverman.
You know what though? I feel like she would resent that. What I appreciate about Sarah Silverman is she is attractive, and sometimes she'll jokingly play that character, but she like would never allow herself to be sexualized. Like I feel like she like really loudly resists those tendencies by the media to do that to her.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like saying that that's her like in her own eye view. I'm saying that's why guys I feel like are on board with her.
Like the
interesting.
things they have to check off to listen.
I think she's pretty similar to Midge in that way, honestly.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think their vulgarity is similar as well.
And the Jewishness of it all, too.
Totally.
I think she's a great... I think Midge and Sarah Silverman have a lot in common, really.
She might have studied her.
And that's a little bit of something we didn't touch about in the episode. Now that I'm thinking about it, is when Midge talks with Susie about, we mentioned it briefly, but about like not having a filter.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's.
I wonder like if people like Sarah Silverman, who like once you get into this comedy world and once you like freely are talking and swearing, because I've noticed about myself even with like growing up and like being in an area where people swear more, because my parents hate swearing, and like I went home and I went home and I swore around parents, and it's like my immediate thought was like,
Yeah.
like how did I do that so freely? But it is like once it becomes like a normal part of your day.
That's what my parents think I'm a sailor. I was really worried. My mom had a big event and I had to do a speech in front of 1,000 people, and I was so, because she fires me up, that I was scared I was just gonna drop an F-bomb.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Good.
But I understand that feeling.
My parents are funny, though. They're like, we do love that Maisel show, but boy, do they say the F word a lot in season 2.
That sounds like my parents.
Yeah.
But boy, oh my gosh. Well, great clip. And we have another great clip for you guys.
Yes, for our news and gossip section.
Yes.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So for anyone that was living under a rock this past week, the Golden Globes happened. Steph mentioned it earlier in the show. And Rachel Brosnahan won again Best Actress in a Comedy Show, TV show. So we have her acceptance speech for you guys that we're going to pull up now. And then I have a little bit of extra news as well regarding her as well.
Wow. Thank you. Okay. Thank you to the HFPA for being some of the first people to celebrate this show and to help other people figure out that we exist. Thank you to our incredible village that it really takes to make this show. And our village is a matriarchy,
She looked
led
amazing.
by Amy Sherman Palladino. We have women in so many leadership roles across this show. At Amazon, led by Jen Sulkey. Thank you. Thank you to our entire team. Thank you, Amy and Dan and Dana and all of our producers. To our team at Amazon, Jen and Jeff and Albert and Ken and Mark and Donna. Thank you to our cast, Alex and Michael and Tony and Marin. You are the very best
Marin
collaborators and playmates that I could ever ask for on this insane journey. Thank you. Thank you to our crew who keep this ship afloat. We couldn't do it without them. They are some of the kindest and most generous and talented and hardworking people I have ever had the privilege of working with.
Oh.
And I am so grateful every single day. Thank you to my team, Kevin and Ida, Shauna, Ken Lee. They're telling me to wrap it up. Okay, I'm talking faster. There are so many more that I'm forgetting. I'm gonna have to write some thank you notes. Thank you, my friends, my family. Jason, I love you. I wouldn't be here at all without you. Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks.
She's so cute.
Class act. That Brosnahan girl.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Our village is a matriarchy. I'm definitely
said.
gonna have to
I mean, and
quote
that was definitely a theme of the Golden Globes in general, was women working and being independent and like doing things for themselves. So that was nice. And I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to see, because like they showed the guy that she said, I love you.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm pretty sure he's from The Magicians.
He is.
Oh, nice.
Quinn.
And then women swept all the actrors categories too, which
They
is
did.
great.
And all those like
Very dumb
leading
joke.
actress
Yeah.
and supporting actress, they swept. Didn't go to any men this year. But I also just wanted, this has nothing to do with her, but it's just one of the things that annoyed me with the Golden Globes was the cuts. I don't know if you guys noticed, they kept cutting to people that she wasn't talking about, and that was like a theme overall with the direction
It
of
was
this Golden
like
Globes.
who's directing this?
Where it kept cutting to
Yeah.
random people that were just staring, and I was like, why are we not cutting to the heartfelt moment pieces? I want, like, they're all sitting at that table. She like says Amy Sherman Palladino, and it cuts to like Alan Arkin, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of, I feel like stupid to do because people who don't know their faces should know their faces because they're a part of the production and
Right.
what she's talking about. And I always look to obviously a good expression of someone not amused is funny, but I want to see who they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
Sorry,
good point.
that had nothing to do with like the news and gossip. Just a little critique of mine.
Golden Globe critique.
And me and Steph agreed, so you know.
They need Steve Egbert in there as well. It really
He's the
is. He would have been cutting cameras better.
Our fearless engineer in the booth right now and producer.
Yes.
And my little extra bit of news is on January 19th, Rachel Brosnahan will be hosting SNL. There was no promo out yet, otherwise we would have played it. But
it'll be dropping next week.
yeah, so not
yeah.
next Saturday, but the Saturday after. When it comes back for 2019, she will be the first SNL of 2019 host.
I love that. She'll be great.
She'll be I'm really excited for that. And you guys, I also cover the SNL after shows on Sundays, 8 p.m. So make sure to check that out as well. I'm excited to cover her. I know Amy, our Amy, will love to talk about that too. So I guess that wraps news and gossip up.
That is all we have for you for right now, but we'll have some more later.
And we do have some predictions for you guys.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Jeff Graham, can you start us off?
But you're not allowed to give any predictions for the next episode, just for like maybe.
Here's what
a
I'll say.
series
I
prediction.
predict you guys are going to love episode 4. I think
Okay.
it might be my favorite of the season so far.
I'm really excited for episode 4.
It's very funny.
I predict. I feel like we're getting. I don't think she's gonna tell her parents until the end of the season,
Really?
and I don't know if she'll
she's
tell
gay.
them or if they'll just find.
Jeff's jokes are so funny and not funny at the same time today.
Keep going, Brie.
No, but just. I don't know if she'll tell them. I don't know if it'll be like they find out in some way, like Joel did, because I feel like she's never gonna be ready to tell people. She still wants her like cake and eating it too kind of phrase, where she's this comedian but can still have this other life where she's not, and she's already slipping into that now, so she can't obviously, but. Yeah, so I think we're not going to see that anytime soon. I think she's going to keep trying to hide it. There might be like little slip-ups here and there where they maybe find out, but she
It's very superhero movie. She's very like Peter Parker right now.
Totally.
She's Midge and then she's Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue to see this growth of her and Joel as not a couple right now, but as parents.
Companions.
And companions. It's funny, I say as parents, but really they barely ever talk about their children.
Barely. He's never talked about Esther. Ever.
yeah.
And I think that we're going to really see Susie kind of step up as a manager and be really trying hard. I mean, obviously she's in a position right now where she needs money, so the more gigs she books for her, the better her life is. So I think we're going to see her really kind of stepping up and really trying to push things.
I think that I hope that we get a really Susie Midge packed episode. I would love to see Susie meet up with Harry Drake and get more insight into how we can progress how we can stop cock blocking Midge's career. And I hope she takes this past episode 3, as a learning opportunity and then grooms her comedy even more. And I want to see a full-on live performance. So I like when they do the clips of her mashing up her pieces and doing the same bit into one, but to see a full one, like in the men's male comedy room type scene, that was great.
Agreed.
And really quickly before we end, just because I looked it up, because we said that Alex Bornstein has been kind of snubbed a little bit, but I will say it's interesting. So for actress, there is differential between drama and musical or comedy. Mm-hmm. It looks like with Best Actress Supporting, it's not. Oh. So if you look at it, she's the only comedic actress in this entire lineup, which is Patricia Clarkson, who won, Penelope Cruz, Thandie Newton, and Yvonne, I can't say her last name, from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
So I will say it's really, really difficult to win an award against those dramatic performances because it is a lot, I guess, emotional and stuff. So.
But for her as a comic actress to even slip into that category.
Yeah, that is telling of how great she is. So I think that's a win in itself.
Amen.
For her to be recognized, like, obviously it'd be idiotic not to say how cool that is.
Right.
It's the Golden Globes.
She'll win the Emmy. It's fine.
Yeah.
She'll win the Emmy.
Well, that's all for this week, you guys. We will keep you updated on when we'll be covering episode 4.
I'm sure we'll cover some more episodes next week. We just don't have the dates and times quite yet.
Yes.
But we will social it, and where can we find it on social?
Yes, I will tweet it on my Twitter, which is at Jeffrey C. Graham. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BRI_Phipps, PHIPPS.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.